I'm AAllen and I'm in the chemistry department here at CSU. I'd like to share with you one of the strategies I used when moving my large enrollment class online that received positive feedback from students, both in their participation and their course survey feedback. In spring 2020, I was teaching Chem 245, which is Fundamentals of Organic Chemistry. This is a 4-credit foundational level organic chemistry course. Students generally have 1 or 2 semesters of general chemistry, but this is their first introduction to organic chemistry. The class is designed for non-chemistry majors who require only 1 semester of organic chemistry. Chem 245 is typically a large class and recently has been enrolling more than 350 students. In spring 2020, I took about 380 students online. The strategy I want to focus on for this video is what we did to transition our peer-led group study component online. In my class, peer-led group study is a learning assistant-led out-of-class session where students engage in active learning activities while interacting with their classmates. Along with strengthening course knowledge, these sessions also play a role in creating our class community and fostering new relationships between classmates. It is an optional class component, but students can earn some extra credit for their effort and participation. This makes it a fairly popular component of my classes. The question we were faced with mid-March was how to keep both the community and the active learning aspects of our peer-led group study when we transitioned online. We had already used the game Kahoot as one of our activities that we cycled through, and since Kahoot is already web-based, we decided to try it as our main learning activity going forward, along with Zoom meetings. With this combination, we could still bring students together remotely to engage with course material while playing weekly Kahoot games using Zoom as our platform. I liked the idea of using Kahoot for our activity, as many students felt they were not comfortable with virtual meeting platforms and were apprehensive to use them. This resulted in students being hesitant to log on and communicate for things like office hours. The benefit of Kahoot was that it allowed the students that felt apprehensive about online video communication to participate without having to use either the camera or the microphone. They could still be included in the game through their device and observe the interactions of those that were more comfortable with virtual communication while gaining their own confidence. Those that were less comfortable speaking over the microphone also had the option of communicating using the chat functions of Zoom. We set up a series of weekly Kahoot games that students could join and link them through Canvas. When students joined Zoom, the learning assistants shared their screen and students logged into the game through a web browser or the Kahoot app. Most often, a student would view the game on a computer and participate on a smartphone. However, if the student didn't have 2 devices to do this, Kahoot has solutions for a 1-device remote game on their website. Here is the start of one of our games, and you can see that we have great participation on this day with 47 students logged in at the start. For anyone that is not familiar with Kahoot, once the game starts, it's a multiple choice-based game where students answer user-created questions on their device. The quicker you can answer correctly, the more points you earn towards your score. Incorrect answers score no points, and those that do not answer before time runs out score no points. The Kahoot game in the end was our single most used communication or optional engagement feature of our online transition. More students attended the Zoom-based Kahoot games than both our virtual office hours and our virtual problem-solving demonstrations. Kahoot with the learning assistants even had more participation than our class discussion board. 60% of the class were participating in our remote games. I wanted students to be able to continue to earn a small amount of extra credit for their participation and effort, as this was promised at the beginning of the semester. At first I wasn't sure how to do this, as this wasn't something that we had explored face-to-face. But Dr. Emily AAllen from the physics department was kind enough to share with me that Kahoot generates detailed reports of each game, and if students use their ID or their e-name as their Kahoot name, it's easy to provide either participation credit or even credit for correct answers. So thank you, Emily. You can even see how each student did on individual questions, whether they answered them correctly, incorrectly, or didn't answer at all. Overall, Kahoot over Zoom was a positive experience for students. It allowed them to keep coming together as a group to engage in course material with the help of the learning assistants. I believe this helped keep the feeling of a class community among students and provided those students that were hesitant to jump into virtual communication a less intimidating way of continued connection and participation. The positive outcomes of Kahoot with Zoom can be seen by the retention of student participation. In the first half of the semester, 60% of the class were participating in our face-to-face active learning sessions, and then when we switched online, we maintained the same level of participation. Our Kahoot games had an average attendance of close to 50 students, with games growing as large as 71, but not smaller than 22. Kahoot was a great platform for all size groups with no change to how we ran the game. The value found in Kahoot was evidenced not only by the consistent attendance through the final 7 weeks, but also through the request to continue reviewing the game for study purposes after it had finished. Kahoot does have a feature to create offline games for asynchronous play, and this option was available to students as well. Based on the results of Spring 2020, I will be keeping an online Kahoot game as part of my class structure as I move my Fall 2020 class online as well. Thank you.